everybody, it's Daphne and you're very welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming to spend some of your time with me today. Today I am going to talk about tips and tricks that we more mature ladies can use to help us retain that youthful look and to avoid making some makeup mistakes that can actually age us. So if you're interested in hearing what those tips and tricks might be, then just keep watching. So ladies, as we know, as we get older, certain things can change, you know, in our faces, in our hair, you know, lots of changes that can take place. And sometimes we can get stuck in a makeup rut and maybe sticking with things that we used to do when we were younger. And as you get older, sometimes those techniques don't always work as we are getting older. Very often our skin tone will change a little bit. I always found it difficult to figure out what the undertone in my skin was. I was never sure. I'm pretty sure I have a neutral undertone. Some of the ways that you can work it out is ask yourself if, which we should not be doing, if you were in the sun, would your skin just go pink? Would you burn and not tan at all? If that's the case, then you are most likely a cool undertone. If you go a little bit pink before you get a slight color or a slight tan, the likelihood is you have a neutral undertone. Whereas if you just go that lovely golden brown, you're a warm skin tone. And another way that you can check to see what your undertone is to look at your jewellery. So if you can wear, if gold looks really good on you, then you likely have a warm undertone. If silver looks really good on you, you likely have a cooler undertone. If you can wear both and they both look equally well, then you most likely have a neutral undertone in your skin. When it comes to foundation, I know when I was younger, I didn't think about what I was doing to my skin before I put my foundation on. I just put the foundation on. With young skin, you can practically put anything on it and it's going to look good. Now I know that the canvas is the most important thing. So how you prepare your skin. So before you apply your makeup, make sure that your skin is well hydrated and moisturized, because that will help to plump up any fine lines. Ladies, we're all going to have little, you know, laughter lines and small little wrinkles. That's part of life. There's no cream or anything that's going to change that unless you go for cosmetic procedures. So prep your skin really, really well before you apply your foundation. That will plump up your skin and help to minimize any fine lines and wrinkles that you may have. Also, when you prep your skin and it's well hydrated and moisturized, it's going to help your makeup to have more staying power, which is what we want. We don't want to have to be touching up during the day and applying more makeup during the day. I used to think that as I got older, I would have to go for a heavier foundation. Now I realize I don't need to do that. In fact, I can go for foundations that are actually lighter in texture. It's very important to go for foundations that have words like illuminating, hydrating, youthful glow. Those kinds of wordings on the bottles or the tubes, they give you a very good insight as to the kind of finish you're going to get with your foundation. So going for a more luminous foundation is really going to help you to have a more youthful appearance. You can also apply your foundation in very sheer layers. You don't have to go for a one and done layer. You can do it in very sheer layers, and you can build it. And a lot of foundations are very buildable. Or you could have perhaps a tinted moisturizer that you use, or a beauty base that you use, an illuminating beauty base that you use, and you can put your foundation over that and it might give you another little layer of coverage, but it doesn't look heavy, because we don't want our foundations to look heavy, because that's when they will settle in to lines and wrinkles, and that just is more aging on any age group, never mind more mature ladies. If you want a more luminous finish to a foundation that maybe is a more matte foundation, you can add in luminous drops. They're very, very popular. Gosh do them. I think Clarins do them. You can pop a little drop of facial oil in, or a sweet almond oil, and it will give the foundation, it'll help to give it more of a glow on your skin when you apply it. So don't be afraid to do that kind of thing. Look for hydrating and plumping ingredients in the foundation that you are choosing. And nowadays, very often foundations have skincare ingredients in them. We'd say like hyaluronic acid. That's one of my favorites. If I see hyaluronic acid on something, I'm there. I'm there because I know it's going to plump my skin out. It's going to draw moisture into my skin, and my skin will look more luminous as a result of that. For instance, the foundation that I'm wearing today is the Catrice True Skin foundation, and as you can see there, it says it's hydrating. It's a hydrating foundation, and it contains hyaluronic acid, and it's a long wear foundation. So that's a lovely one to try. It's not very expensive. I think, was it less than €10? Another thing I should have mentioned prior to applying your foundation was using a primer. And I, in the past, always steered away from primers. They never seemed to work for me. I never found the one that I really liked until I discovered the Sculpted by Aimee range. And I used her beauty base. If you've watched me before, you'll know I use this a lot. And this is the beauty base in Golden Glow. It's got hyaluronic acid in it, and it has SPF 30. So it's an all-in-one. It's an all-in-one moisturizing primer. Now, I would often put this on and not apply a foundation. So that's it there. And as you see, when I rub it in, it gives a lovely luminous glow. You can pop out with that on your skin and it'll look beautiful. But when you're putting foundation on top of it, it's going to help to give, add to the luminosity in your skin. When you're applying your foundation, I suppose in the past, I always used to start on my cheeks and work out. No, I now start in the center of my skin. I now start in the center of my face. So I generally apply first to my nose and onto my cheeks, and I work out. And that's what I've done today. I use a nice big brush. That's a new one. That's really one of my favorites. This is another favorite. These are both blank canvas brushes. So you can see I like a dense brush, and it's very easy to apply the foundation. It's very quick, and you get a very even coverage using a brush like that. But you can also use a sponge to, pat in or bounce along the edges so you get a seamless application, and you're not going to have lines. Another point about choosing a colour in your foundation is that as we're getting older, sometimes we get an ashier tone in our skin, so you may need to warm up your foundation a little bit. I would have always worn something that was usually an ivory. I don't do that anymore because my skin tone has changed a little bit. The colour of my hair has completely changed when I let my own natural colour grow in, and so I've had to change the way, the colours I apply. So if you're noticing that you've got more of an ashy tone to your skin, just warm up your foundation a little bit. So for instance, instead of buying an ivory foundation for myself, I might go for a warm ivory. So having talked about having a nice luminous and hydrating foundation on, powder is another thing that sometimes we make mistakes with. I know I have in the past. A good rule of thumb is to just use your powder sparingly and use it only in places where you need to. If you've got oily skin, you're going to need a little bit more powder, or if you've got oiliness in, say, your T-zone, that's where you apply it. So when I'm applying powder, I will use generally quite a small brush. Could be something as small as this. Let's see now. I rarely use, my big powder brush to apply powder. So I will take my small little brush, and this is the Sculpted by Aimee invisible loose setting powder, and I have a little out in the well there. I work a little into my brush, and as you can see there, tap it off, and I will literally go over my concealer a little bit. I might go back in for a bit more. I would often get wearing away of my foundation on my forehead, around my nose, around my mouth. So they're the areas I will kind of set with powder, but it's a very light setting. So that's just something else to bear in mind, is to just powder where you need to. When we are applying makeup, generally, well, I do anyway, I tend to focus on either my eyes or I'll focus on my lips. And it is about balancing out. So you're not going to go in with, and I did this in the 80s and the 90s where you'd have, you know, a heavier colour on your eyes and then a really bright lipstick. Things have changed, and I think as you get older it is nice to balance things out, and if you are focusing on your eyes, then neutralise your lips. If you're wearing a bright lip, wear a more neutral eye. Another tip would be to simplify your eye look. So you can play around with different colours. So what I do now is I generally put, say, a wash of something very neutral. You know I love my MAC Pro palette, and I love the colours in this. And today, these are all colours that I chose myself and popped in. Today I put on this colour here. Now I am dreadful for remembering what the shades are. So this is Malt. It's a lovely kind of skin tone colour in a way, but it has a slight taupiness to it as well. So I put that all over my lid, and then I used a very soft eyeliner, brown eyeliner, and it's the one I use all the time. It's by AU, which is an Irish company. It's their kohl eyeliner in deep brown. So I just very softly lined my eyes, and I'll give you a tip for that in a second. And then I went into my crease and outer V with this colour here, which is Quarry, and that is a sort of a taupey colour, but it has it slightly pulls a little bit of mauve as well. And then, because ladies, we shouldn't be afraid of shimmer. Glitter maybe, not shimmer. Shimmer can actually make your eyes pop, and this is a new one for me. I bought it a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Naked Lunch, I'm pretty sure, and it is a lovely kind of champagne-y colour, and I have it on just on the centre of my lids. I applied it with my my ring finger, so you can see the colour there, and just pop it on, and it just, you know, it's not overpowering. It's not going to make my lids look heavy. It just gives a lovely little pop of shimmer. Now, I mentioned there about a tip for applying eyeliner, and I read this online. To tilt your chin up, keep your eyes slightly open so that you can still see what you're doing. And that's what I did today. And it gives actually a really, now I'm only pretending to put it on because it's on already, but it actually gives you, in a mirror, it actually gives you a really good view of what you're doing. You will get a really good application of your eyeliner in that way. I don't always do this, but when I do it, the difference it makes is unbelievable, and that is to curl my lashes. Also, if you are struggling in the lash department like I do very often, you could use individual lashes, and they're not technically individual. They come in little sets of, in little tiny little clumps of 3, and you can put them then where you feel you need them. I like them on the outer corner of my eye, just to give that sort of winged out effect. And speaking of a winged effect, it is okay to still use a liquid liner. I love my black liquid liner. I absolutely do. If I want a dramatic effect, I love it. I love to wing it out. You know, if you've watched me before, I love my winged liner. But you can do a similar effect with your pencil or a powder. And as you can see, if you look closely there, you'll see I have a slight winged effect there, but it's very soft and it's smoked out. But if you want to use your winged liner, go right ahead and do it, but it's still perfectly fine to use your winged liner. When it comes to brows, I think there's been so many trends in brows over the last few years, and I suppose one of them is, you know, Instagram brows. I feel at my age I can't wear brows like that. My brows need to look very natural, and actually as I'm looking in the mirror I'm seeing that I've missed a patch or two, so I'll use this as an opportunity to demonstrate. Brow pencils are supposed to be a little bit harder than you would imagine, because you're supposed to be able to apply them softly so that you can get, you know, feathered and hair-like effects. And you can see there, just as I've filled that in, and the same, see that little gap there where I'm pointing, you can just fill that in as well, and here. So I think it's nice to fill them in and keep them looking natural. When it comes to concealer, I think it's important not to apply a concealer that is too heavy or drying. So it's a good idea to put a brightener rather than a concealer. But if you are using a concealer, as I did today, because I don't have my brightening product at the moment, and this is the Sculpted by Aimee, it's the Complete Cover Up Concealer. What I do is I'll apply a little just there. I don't apply it out here because I do have, you know, I have lines and wrinkles there and I don't want to emphasize them. So I will just apply my concealer there to cover just that darkness in there. And when I'm doing my makeup, I'll apply it and I'll go on and do some other, you know, I'll do my brows or whatever. And then I'll go back and check, and I'll do this to see, has it settled into just that little crease there? And if it has, what you do is you go back in and either look like that, so it kind of stretches it out, pat it in with your finger, because the warmth of your finger will help it to sort of melt into your skin. And then you get your little powder brush and your tiny little bit of powder and you just pop it on like that. And that should help it not to settle and not to look cakey or dry. When it comes to sculpting the face, you know, contouring or bronzing, very often cream products are easier to work with and easier to get to melt into your skin. And today you've seen me use these so many times because I'm going to talk about blush as well. This is the Clinique, it's the Curvy Contour 01 Chubby Stick. Find your cheekbone. Find where it meets your ear, where it joins your ear, and that's where you start. Don't go too far down because you want to lift your face, so go further up, almost on the bone, not just underneath. If I was to go underneath my bone, my contour would be there. So I'm kind of just on the bone there. The same thing when it comes to applying your blush. Apply it higher up. Again, this is Clinique Chubby Stick. It's in Robust Rhubarb. It's a lovely peachy melony shade. And just apply it kind of higher up than you would. Now I already have some on, as you can see, but I'm just going to show you. And don't bring it right up to, you know, towards your hairline. Keep it more or less in that area, and it'll just give a lovely flush of colour, and it'll make your skin look plump and hydrated and fresh and youthful. I wouldn't be afraid of highlighters in any way, but not too much. This is MAC, it's a cream base, and this one is in Hush, and I absolutely love it. You can see it's well used as well. Place highlighter where the light would naturally hit your face. Definitely here on my cheeks, definitely on my nose, and definitely a little bit up here and on my cupid's bow, they're the typical places that we're told to apply highlighter. But when you do it very subtly, instead of aging, it adds, again, luminosity to the skin. Now I have this on already, so I don't want to put on too much more, but just to show you, you really need a tiny amount for it to make a huge difference. Very, very little. So a product like that is going to last you for a long time. And it just, again, it lifts the face, it makes it look luminous, and again, that's what we're looking for. When it comes to lips, and that's one of the other things that can happen as you're getting older, your lips can appear to get thinner. It's easy enough to correct that. If you get a lip liner that is very similar to your own lip colour, you just slightly overline. You're not going to draw big lines, you know, up here. Just slightly overline. And then take your finger and just pat it in so that it's blending, and you're not going to get, again, a separate lip liner and then a lipstick. And that will help. That really does. Lip liners do really help to reshape your lips for you. And sometimes we get unevenness, and you know, they're not symmetrical anymore. So you can correct that with a lip liner. You don't have to buy an expensive one. That's an Essence one. It's called First Love. It's one I use a lot. You know, I use that in my Get Ready With Me's. When we're going for lipstick products, it's a good idea to pick lipsticks that are hydrating, not to go for the mattes as much as we would have. Now, more modern day mattes tend to be kinder to the lips than previously. This is a cream lipstick, and it's by Urban Decay, and it's in the colour Rush, and it's very similar to the lip liner in colour. So luckily enough, nowadays most lipsticks have, you know, lip kind ingredients in them. They're moisturizing and they're very comfortable to wear. And also the gloss has made a comeback, and this one is by Up Cosmetics. It's an Irish company, I've mentioned it many times before. It looks quite peachy and I've put pink on, but it actually comes out quite clear, and it just, you don't have to put much on. It just gives that lovely fullness to the lip. You can even just apply it in the center and it will give that lovely sheen and make your lips look fuller. So I'm going to finish up with just a kind of a general thing. Don't be afraid to experiment with your makeup. Don't be afraid to experiment with colour that you wouldn't have used in the past. By experimenting and playing around with your makeup, you will find things that work for you, because not all tips and techniques work for everybody. And not every product works for everybody. That's why I always say when I'm doing my Get Ready With Me is you don't need to use the products, the exact same products as I'm using. Use whatever you've got. I'm just creating a look, and these are the products that I'm working with. Don't be afraid to experiment. That's what I do. I've learned so many things, so many tips and techniques that work for me. So do play around with your makeup. And don't be afraid to go for that lovely glow. I mean, don't we all want that lovely J-Lo glow? And she's in her 50s as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell beside it. I would love to have you as part of our little family here. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will talk to you again in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.